Hi. Son is a gift to a father who would always challenge every value the father holds true. In this video, the second chapter with Rajiv Bajaj, he talks about the resistance he faced from his family and his colleagues while he tried to change a stodgy old scooter company to a new age bike frontrunner. He also talks about three values in the manual called life. Come watch second video or second chapter with Rajiv Bajaj. So one question related to your work. So when you decided the company should, do a transition from scooter to bike, I'm sure your idea would have faced resistance within the company, within the family, etc. How did you hold your ground, and how did you bring that conviction across?
See, what happened is I joined in 1990. I was a manufacturing engineer, and when I joined the company, there was still a waiting period of 18 months for a Bajaj scooter.
Correct.
So company had only one problem: how to produce more, which was not easy because in a company which had a long waiting period, first it was 10 years, then slowly it came down.
Correct.
By the time I came, it was 1.5 years. So you can imagine that suppose we are sitting here today and my production is sold out for the next 18 months. I mean, what is my motivation to improve?
Correct.
So at least to my young eyes or young mind, it was a very complacent company. And it was not the only one like that. I saw every Tata. I had worked at Tata Motors for a year. They were worse probably. So now in that situation, there were other complications that at that time this labor and all, union baji and all was also a big subject. So how to get people to produce more was not easy. So fortunately, I had studied some good theory on manufacturing in the UK, so I could bring it back, start applying it. It was the kind of modern manufacturing practices that came out of Japan. So as we started applying it, the results were coming almost on a daily basis. Because unlike, for example, in R&D, where if you want to do something new with technology or new products, the result will come after 2, 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
In their language, you can say you are attacking a chronic problem, so it will take time to get the result.
Correct.
But if it is an acute problem, if it is a fever, you can bring it down in 1 hour. There is no problem. So manufacturing is like an acute situation. Most of manufacturing problem. So it is very satisfying for a young person that you come in, you do something today, the result is tomorrow. You do something more, the result is again the day after, etc. So I did that for 3-4 years till 93 or 94. Then I went to my father and I asked him that what is to be done. By that time the scooter was off the shelf. In fact, there was too many scooters on the shelf because not enough people were buying it. And people had started buying motorcycles. So from 93 the market started shifting to motorcycles. So I thought maybe I have to make a motorcycle. But I asked my father, what do you want me to do here? And he told me something that his father told him. The sentence was, do what you think best, but be the best in what you do. So again, it is the same theme, is same only. Narrow your focus, be the best. So do what you think best, but be the best in what you do. So I said, okay, it's a nice sentence, but actually, what does it mean? In other words, what will make us to say that Bajaj Auto is the best or one of the best in its field? He said, for this, I guess it is necessary that we should export, because our exports are zero. If we export successfully and people in different countries buy our product, that means generally the world is appreciating us. So we can say, if not the best, we are one of the best.
Correct.
This would be the interpretation. So I said, okay. So then I looked that if we have to be a global company, I saw that there is an inverse relationship between the markets you address and the products or the segments in which you are present. Which means, suppose Bajaj Auto is a company selling only in the state of Maharashtra, then probably I will make cycles, mopeds, push scooters for children, tricycle, motorcycle, this one, that one. Maybe I'll make some small car or some. I'll make so many different areas. I will have to, because my market is so small. It's only Maharashtra. that unless I offer enough product, how do I grow the business?
Right.
But from Maharashtra, if I go to India, maybe I have to narrow down the product this thing. And maybe if I become a regional player in Asia, then I have to narrow further. And if like MS Dhoni, I want to be a world champion, well, I cannot. MS Dhoni plays, I have seen him play billiards and hockey and swim and soccer and this thing, but not on a world stage. On a world stage, he does only one thing.
Cricket, yeah.
So we said, okay, that means if you have to export, then what is that one thing? Now again, this is where the decision is always a combination of some mechanical thinking and some artistic thinking. Because how narrow, you can come very narrow. Like my friend Siddharth Lal who makes Royal Enfield, he is even narrower. He's only making a 350cc or a 500cc bike. Yeah. He's also a motorcycle maker, I am also a motorcycle maker. But he's even narrower. Because the kitchen which he inherited, in other words the factory he inherited, was rather small. So in that kitchen, the restaurant can be small.
Correct.
Right or wrong, I inherited a rather large kitchen. I have to feed more people to be able to make it viable, but not one more than necessary. So I cut my cloth to the size, my suit to the size of a cloth available to me. He has done it in the same way. That's why, in my view, he is also very successful. So we said motorcycle, but tomorrow somebody can ask me, motorcycle is still very broad. So that's why I'm explaining why motorcycle. So we said, okay, we'll go for motorcycles. And the reason we chose motorcycle is because when we took a global perspective, whether it was in terms of volume or volume multiplied by per unit price, or in terms of revenue, or in terms of profitability, or even in terms of image, motorcycle in general was a bigger segment or a more prestigious and rewarding segment than scooters. So we said if we have to do one thing, then that thing should be motorcycle. So we chose the most lucrative slice of the pie. And we said to ourselves that once we conquer this, then tomorrow we can do something else. Suppose I am already a world champion of cricket when I am 25 years old. If I have some time, I may play chess. But till I have become a champion here, there is no point trying to play chess and competing on a global level. Or I may seek to be a world champion in cricket. I may try to be only India champion in chess. So tomorrow we may make a scooter, we may make it only for a particular geography, like that. So actually whenever my father asked me that, why did you stop the scooter? I said, but you only effectively told me. You may not have realized the power of your words, but when you said what you said, that is what it means.
Correct.
And history has shown again and again innumerable examples. And this is what I said to him to answer the second part of your question, that how to stand your ground or how did I justify. I said it's very simple. I will show you an example of 50 companies, 100 companies, 500 companies, from General Electric in the US to our friend Dr. Vijay Mallya in India.
Correct.
Where if you try to do too many things on a global basis, you fail.
So, three things which you have to tell, and if you have to fill the manual called Life for the Youth, what would be there?
So, we have another great homeopath called Dr. David Little. So, because he said three things, so I will invoke Dr. David Little. So, once he told me that there are only three truths in life. I don't know whether there is any truth in life, but he said there are three truths in life. The first is change.
Correct.
Okay, everything will change. Everything has changed, so it will change. So what is the lesson for us or the youth or the old or the middle-aged is the same. You have to adapt. See, Darwin said it is not the strongest or the most intelligent of the species that survives.
Correct.
It is the one that is most adaptive to change.
Change.
You know?
Yeah.
So to adapt also needs humility. We come back to the first point.
Correct.
You know, that unless you are open,
correct,
unless you can be neutral, unless you can be objective,
correct,
you will just shoot the messenger of the bad news otherwise. So the first, if the first truth, I don't know if it is so, but Dr. Little says if the first truth is change, then what does change mean or require? It means that we should be always willing to adapt, whether it is as individuals or as a company. The times change. Tomorrow maybe we have to make electric vehicle, we have to scrap all these plants. Okay. We have to stop scooter, go to motorcycle. Okay. Stop three-wheeler, go to quadricycle. Okay. So I think that is one. The second he said is relativity. So everything is relative, as we were discussing earlier. There's nothing absolute. So what is the implication of relativity to our life or work, in my opinion? It is a word called improvement. That ultimately, as I said, that we have to only be truthful to ourselves. When I come to work every day, the question in my mind should be only one. How can I do a little better today than I did yesterday? So if I'm Dr. Abhay, I have to ask myself, okay, yesterday I had 6 patients and I did very well for 4, okay for 1, no good for 1, for whatever reason. Today I should do better than that. For the 4 I should do even better. For the 1 also I should do even better. For the 1 also I should do something reasonable.
Okay.
So it may be in any aspect of work or life. But if we accept that there is no end to improvement, then we can keep improving our performance relatively all the time. Whether it is as a spouse, as a parent, as an engineer, as a manager, as a doctor, as a citizen.
Today is better than yesterday.
Yeah. So I think relativity, well, he said, is another truth, second truth. And the third truth, again, I don't know if it is a truth, but it is so relevant in today's world, even from whatever happened last Friday, is the truth called interdependence. So there is a wonderful saying of Kalian that whatever we reject in our life appears in the world as an event. In other words, again, if I fall back on what I really love, which is homeopathy, it means that there is no point suppressing anything. If you suppress somebody saying, "Tum to Musliman hai," that is going to come out somewhere. If you suppress a child, you will not play like this, you will do like that. The child is going to ultimately behave in a certain fashion behind your back. You know? If I tell an employee like this only, by suppression, rather than by good argument or counseling or education or something, then it's going to come out in some fashion. So, all disease is suppression only, in a way. So, interdependence means knowing that really we are interdependent. You know?
Correct.
I mean, when you fly in that plane, your hands is in the life of a captain, you have no idea who he is.
Correct.
So every day in life we are dependent on others. You know?
Correct.
And suddenly you hear a bad news, you go to a doctor you never met before. You know? So interdependence means all that you call it humanity or empathy or consideration or those kind of qualities. So I think these 3 words.
Respect the interdependence is what we are saying.
Yeah, you must be aware that we are all dependent on each other. So
Correct.
there is never a point in thinking that what's in it for me.
Correct.
Because it is a zero-sum game at the end of it. You are never going to be able to extract more than your fair share in the long run anyway. So you might as well do things in a manner that is humane, empathetic, fair, equitable. You can even say, even this whole thing people talk about giving and CSR and social, it comes from that only. I mean, ultimately, I like what, I don't remember the exact words, but what Jack Ma of Alibaba said, that if in 1 year I am making a profit of $5 billion, how does he infer that, how does he interpret that profit of $5 billion? He says, I look at it like this is a money given by society to me.
Correct.
To spend it in a wise way. You know, not to hoard it in a bank. It has to be put back in the society only. So I find it very surprising when corporates used to complain when the government brought in a rule that 2% of all bottom line should be spent in CSR. I mean, why not 20%? You know, frankly speaking, because otherwise, what's the use of money if it is not for that purpose?
Correct.
You know, so I think through these 3 words, we can capture many good thoughts, or we can teach ourselves, or we can inculcate a good behavior in ourselves if we understand these 3 truths: change, relativity, interdependence.
Yes, sir.